Okay, so I have a good script that I'm excited about, and I'm gonna put a lot of money into it. So I'm gonna put about at least $50, because that's like my budget, right? So I also have a lot of friends on Facebook that like my photos. How can I go about getting funded for my new project?
Well, that's a great question. And guys, I'm gonna let you know, I'm not a veteran at film and all that kind of stuff like that. I'm a speaker, I'm an entrepreneur, and I know how to make money. And one of the things I was talking to some of the panel up here, I was telling them, I said, you guys are creative people, and that's great. But that doesn't typically, that's not typically a problem. A lot of you guys got great ideas, but the one thing I always hear all the time is, I need some money, And that's the thing. So I mean, money does make the world go round to make things happen. And what I'm going to kind of do, really go through and just talk to you about a couple things. Number one, first and foremost, you want to set yourself up in the right kind of corporate structure. Okay, a lot of you guys might read on the internet things about LLCs and corporations, really knowing the differences and what really matters. I actually have a book that I've written. It's called Corporation versus LLC, the real difference and why it matters. Because I got that question the most in my entire career as a consultant. People would always ask, they see conflicting information on the internet, and people would say, hey, because I read it on the internet, I guess that means it's true, right? And that's not true. And even lawyers, accountants, they have a lot of the information incorrect and wrong. I'm going to tell you right now, and every business is different, but what you guys are doing, probably as filmmakers, whatever the case, if you're a management company, whatever you're doing, you're probably going to set up as a corporation, okay? Number one, because if you set up as an LLC, the number one thing I would tell you is you're going to get taxed, self-employment taxes. So that's typically 20% or so higher than what you're going to do by having a corporation. And I got this question yesterday by a young lady that came into my office, and she was like, well, as an accountant said, I'm not big enough to be a corporation. I said, well, apparently you need to change your accountant because they really don't know what they're talking about, because it doesn't matter how much money that you make. It matters if you make $100, it's the difference between getting taxed $20 or $40, right? So you want to come out of there with the less tax implications as possible, and that's through a corporation. So number one, you're going to need to set up through a corporation, because through that LLC, you're going to have to pay self-employment taxes. It's something, and it's set up and it's such to where it flows down to you on a personal level. It's considered a flow-through entity. And so you say, well, if you're going to do a type of a flow-through entity, there's a better flow-through entity that you can utilize, which is a Class S corporation. Because by going through a Class S corporation, you don't have to pay their self-employment taxes. So that's something that you definitely want to set up. Now you're talking about all of these things, we're talking about expenses and all those things. So you can set up a lot of stuff through your corporation to where they're now fringe benefits. So let's just say you make $100,000 on a project or whatever, and you end up having expenses galore. Well, corporations pay taxes after expenses. And so you can set up certain things in there like health insurance, life insurance, your retirement things, all in there, and those are paid pre-tax dollars. And these are certain things that you can set up through having a corporation. In addition to that, you can set up it on a fiscal year instead of a calendar year, meaning that you can, my corporation just ended the actual, its calendar fiscal year, July 31st. And the beginning of my year just started August 1st. You said, well, why does that matter? Well, let's just say you get at the end of your fiscal year and you end up owing $50,000 extra. And what you can do is now pay yourself that from a personal standpoint. And it's not that you don't have to pay taxes, but it's when you have to pay it. Your personal taxes aren't due till March or April for the following year, so now you have 9 months of what's considered tax deferment. I could talk about this for a long time, but just know this: if you're going to start a company, set it up as a corporation and get it to where you can get actual true funding and set things up on that. Plus, you can't get funded as an LLC. People say you want to talk about VCs, angel investors, things like that. Not one particular company that I've seen go public or anything get funded. Tech companies, you don't get funded as an LLC because the investment. You can't fund an LLC because it's not really a business. In the IRS eyes, they still see you as an individual, per se. Yes, D.
Quick question. In terms of building a brand and the market of film, film is a brand.
Sure.
Someone actually create a project or a film. What comes from the ways I can go about actually building that business? Because that's what it is. It's a business.
Sure.
Can I actually build it? Should it be LLC? Should it be a nonprofit? Should it be what benefits does the filmmaker when he builds his brand? What avenues it should take in order to make a successful brand?
Well, yeah, and so let me make sure I fully understand what you're saying. So the brand, and you can go a lot of different areas. You know, if, nonprofits are typically set up for organizations and people that are trying to, that you have to look at really the purpose of your particular entity. If it's set up to benefit society, then you want to be a nonprofit organization. If it's set up to bring a return to the shareholders, then you want to be a for-profit entity. So it's all really in what the purpose of it is. You know, if it's to benefit society, if you're doing things like that, nonprofit. And on the other hand, too, nonprofits get grants. For-profits typically don't. And so if we establish a type of a corporate structure, then you want to make sure that you set up some form of a business is 80% action and 20% planning and education. And of that, the 10% is planning and 10% is education and know-how. And I would say this, but you can, in regular terms of business, 80%, you can just go out there and not have any planning and any know-how and actually succeed in business. But this particular type of industry here, you want to make sure that you plan. As you can see here, you can end up wasting a lot of money, and this particular industry is very costly. So you want to make sure that you're doing those things like that. So you want to make sure that you put a plan in place, and a plan that's not just like, hey, I need $500,000. You know, you don't need $500,000. You might only need $5,000. And you say, well, how am I going to fund it? Well, you might have a credit card you can fund it with. You know, Spike Lee started his first company with a $5,000 credit card. So really going back to not the types of funding. I know one of the things that you can do is go through crowdfunding. I used to be over the Georgia crowdfunding community. And crowdfunding is really sweeping the nation. And what you typically see now is a lot of these, what you consider rewards-based crowdfunding, Kickstarter, things like that. But specifically dealing with film and video, it hasn't really been as successful on those particular platforms like Kickstarter. But they do have subset platforms that are out there where you can actually go and start to put your that are specifically set up for film and things like that. That's something to kind of look at on that end. But as far as, it's so many different ways you can fund your business, and it really kind of really depends on the business owner. So I know I don't want to talk forever, but I hope that helps.
Well, playing devil's advocate, I'm going to go back to my $50 budget. Have a lot of friends that say they love my stuff. My mom loves my stuff. So I should be in Hollywood, you know, according to them. So is Kickstarter the same thing? Why can't I just do that?
Well, you can go on Kickstarter if you choose to, and that's the thing. But see, people think that they're just going to go on Kickstarter, put something up there, and all the fairies are going to go in there and say, "Ooh, we'll give you all the money." It doesn't work like that. You want to make sure you have an audience. Really, the key to success in crowdfunding campaigns are having audiences. So, you know, one of the things that you want to spend your time on is building an audience. And so, and the biggest thing I've seen from a crowdfunding campaign is not even the money. It's really getting discovery, finding customer discovery. You might think that something is very important to the success or failure of what you're doing. But in this crowdfunding particular campaign, you want to solicit your funders and figure out, hey, what do you like about this? What don't you like? How can I produce this better? You know, hey, look, maybe we can get some things rolling on that end. But it's so many ways to fund it. If you're talking about going through angels, though, let's just say angel investment. Well, I know if I'm going to invest in your film, I need to know specific details. When it's going to roll out, not this pie in the sky dreams, or hey, it's going to be out this time during that time. I need to have specific timelines, specific milestones that you're going to hit and the sort. So if your Kickstarter is good, but Kickstarter typically is better for products, like watches, you know, different things, technology sector. And when you're talking about film, it's in the arts sector, it doesn't get pushed as much. So you want to find specific crowdfunding platforms out there that are going to specifically be catered towards your industry.
when it comes to Kickstarter, I've seen a lot of good campaigns. I think that for the independent filmmaker, you have to really go out there and find as much money as you can for yourself. First of all, you're going to have to use, like you said, and like Robert Townsend or Spike Lee, that they spent their own money out of their own pockets to be able to make these films. Now, I'm sure that when Spike Lee was at NYU film school, that he knew what he wanted to do, and that's what he wanted to do, and so he funded it himself. But for a lot of us who don't have that money, how do we go about funding it through like a Kickstarter or anything? Well, you first got to be very, very creative. Your gifts that you're giving have to attract your people. You have to have a coalition of people that you're friends. Like you said, you got a lot of friends on Facebook. How many friends you got on Facebook? 112. Well, there's more than 112. Well, you've got 112 people that are following you, and they're really followers, and they really want you here to see your stuff. Well, they'll tell their friends. So the first thing you need to do is basically tell your friends to tell their friends. And making sure that happens is probably the hardest part. Because people don't like to share on Facebook. They don't like to, some people will share. How do you get creative enough that that person will want to share it? Like Deontay did with the movie. He had all these pictures up there. He made people interested in what was going on, and people were watching to see what was coming next. That's the way you do it. That's the way you keep on reaching out to that community. You got to ping them every day, 2 times a day, and start to post to a point where people already know that your film is coming. There's a film right now that didn't make it into the film festivals, and it was a great film by Benicio del Toro, which you would think that Benicio del Toro had all the money for marketing in the world. He didn't do any marketing for this film that's called Paradise Lost. I don't know if you guys seen it, but it was a tremendous film on Pedro Escobar. Tremendous cast. Pablo Escobar, I'm sorry. The Colombian drug dealer. Tremendous movie, but nobody saw it. They built the Facebook page, they built the film. Tremendous film, they built everything, but they weren't paying the people. And I think that's the biggest issue. That marketing, and since we don't have marketing dollars, we need to figure out how do we get to market, who do we get in our team? Because film is a collaboration of people, putting people together and building coalition so that other people will share your dream with you. And you share theirs as well. How do you do that? So that's how you build coalition. That's not what you need to do in order to make your Kickstarter or Indiegogo, which is particularly just for film. That's where I would start. There's a lot of great campaigns. One of the great guys who does really good on Indiegogo, his name is, he's one of our members. His name is Danny Hastings. I don't know if anybody ever heard of Danny Hastings. Danny Hastings does all the videos for Larry Hernandez. Who was it? Oh, that you might know, Prince Royce. Anybody know Prince Royce? Well, all his films, all those short videos are done by Larry, by Danny. And Danny, what he's learned to do is be very creative. He put out a movie called Love Potion Number 9, and he basically played every character in the movie on the 2 minutes of Indiegogo. So he made everybody want to see what he was doing. People wanted to see him in the acting, not directing now. He was acting. So he made he gave away scripts, autographed scripts, and guess what? He raised something like $200,000 to put this film together. That's huge. So that's what I think we got to do. We got to be creative. We got to think out of the box. I hate to sound how do I say corporate, but we got to think out of the box.
Okay, I'm going to answer the question. I'm just going to start at the top. So, as an actor, and I know there's actors in this room, and respect to all the filmmakers and directors and producers that's in here and screenwriters, at the end of it, after the movie has been written, the script is written, everything is in place, and then they're looking for us, the talent. I know for a fact that number one, they're looking for someone that's confident, professional, and That's number one. And of course, talented. So having said that, making sure that that is what you bring to the table with your talent first, because no one wants to hire talent that's not confident, easy to work with, and professional, coming to their own staff, not, being available, not being, professional, and all that entails. To answer the question about what I look for, I'm a big person on the work. So it doesn't really matter if the funding isn't there in terms of paying me as a talent. If the script is good, if I can bring something to the table as an actress in the writing of the character that I'm going in for, I'm all on board. If you're in it, talent, for the money and for the Oscar and for the cover of the pageant, you're in it for the wrong reasons. That comes with the work. So the work first is important. Being able to have the ability to take on a character that the screenwriter, director, and all those things are looking for. So if it's a piece that inspires, if there's a piece that deals with social issues, it doesn't really matter. Of course, we have our limits in terms of talent, what we will do and what we won't do, and what we would advocate for, and things of that nature. Professional and personal preference in terms of getting on board with things. But I think far more what's important is being available to people who make films that they want to call you in, they want to see you because they know your work or you've cultivated a relationship with them. I'm big on building relationships. We're at a film festival. Every actor in here should have a business card. Every actor in here should have something that they can give a filmmaker, a director, a producer, that they can take away and then follow up, right? Because what's going to set you apart from the other actors who are getting in the business, who already been in the business, is your understanding the business and cultivating those relationships. Prime example, I'm really good friends with a producer who's worked with a lot of people, and I haven't spoken to him in 2 years on the phone. 2 years, friends and family, see each other on social media, things like that, but I haven't had a conversation with him. He called me yesterday, out the blue. Hey, this is what's happening. This is the project. It's on the line. It already has X amount of followers. These people are attached. These people want it. I thought of you. Send me your stuff ASAP so I can send to the director. You got to be in New York for 2 weeks. The whole thing. If I wasn't ready to, within 30 minutes, send him an email with my reel, with my headshot, with my, everything that goes into my portfolio, I could have lost out on that job. I mean, this was just yesterday. But the fact that I didn't even speak to him in 2 years, and he thought of me, that's the type of relationship that you want to cultivate in this business, that as they're penning the script, they're thinking of you. Or, they can write something in for you. And that comes from being marketable, understanding your type, your brand, and your essence. Know what you are selling, because just as it's a business in the back of the camera, it's a business in front of the camera. What are you selling? It's not enough to say, I'm an actor. It's just not enough. What are you selling? What sets you apart from every other actor that's going to walk into this room? Do you even know how to audition well? Do you even know how to put yourself on tape where your performance is so good that they're booking you straight from tape, right? So I think first, the relationship is first, because you can bypass a whole lot of the open calls and a whole lot of auditions just by having the relationship and having, your things in order where they already know that you're going to walk in the room confident, professional, easy to work with, even if you don't get the part, right? Because they went another direction. So that happens, right? Oh, we're going to go Omar. Oh, we're going to go Latina. Whatever. But guess what? I'm still thinking about you. I still have something for you. So I think that is first. And being in a market like the South Southeast because it's booming and because there's a lot of people, talent seeking here, that are diving into the business quickly because they feel like it's the new Hollywood and all that. I live in Hollywood. Let me tell you, I work here in terms of when I get booked, and I can eat this market up alive just because I'm coming into the market, knowing what I know, and cultivating the relationships I need to cultivate because of it, which puts me ahead of people who live here. So I'll get on the plane for 4 hours, and I'll do your project, and I'll do all these things, but you want to put yourself in that bracket. You want to be the one who knows how to handle your business effectively, how to market yourself effectively, so you are on their A list, because that's what happens, right? As a casting director, before a project even goes to breakdown, before they're even considering, they have a list of actors and actresses that's on the top 10. This is who I want to see. And then I'm going to go to my B, my C, my D list. You want to consistently be on this list because they know your work, because they know that you're a professional, because they trust you. It's all about them trusting you. So I think in the format of filmmaking and being a director and a producer in terms of talent, because if it wasn't for us, they had that business behind it, but then they need us to tell the story. So having your arsenal intact, consistently training, all those things that you need so that when the opportunity arises, you're ready. And I can't speak more on just cultivating the relationship. I just met this man last week, and I've already established a working relationship, a professional relationship with him just because he heard me speak, I heard him speak, and then that's what happened. And then he followed up, and then I followed up. So just people, actors were scared to network. Oh, I'm gonna go to that. I'm scared to network. I'm scared to put myself out there. Guess what? There's a director that's scared too. That people don't like his script. There's a screenwriter that, they think that people are not gonna get it. And all those things, we all are faced with that, but don't let that, stop you. Thank you. Don't let that stop you, because the actor who reaches out, 9 times out of 10, is gonna be an actor that gets the job because they followed up and they handle the business effectively.